We're live. It is 6:02. Committees are in session. We begin this evening 6:02 with finance. We have no legislation this evening. A couple of things we do have that are pretty significant is number one, we did have a meeting last week with the department heads and myself. I communicated individually with the members of the finance committee regarding COVID funds. Right now, we've got about $27,000 that we have to spend. The lists were submitted with the requests from each department head for the items which they would like to purchase with those funds. Those are dollars that were not in our budget. They are given to us through the CARES Act, I believe. Is that through the CARES Act, Lori?
Mhm.
So this is free money that if we don't use it, we lose it. It has to be used for COVID expenses. So that being said, some of the things on the list included hand sanitizer dispensers to get Mayor's Court back up and running, latex gloves, PPE, what you would expect. However, we still got 27,000 of that first wave that we've got to spend. So a couple of the other requests, which I think myself and I think members of finance are in agreement with, are in light of no end in sight with the Zoom meetings and the issues with internet we've had, would be the purchase of 2 iPads at $360 a piece with LTE data at $40 a month for the remainder of this year. That's just under $1,000. Is anybody in opposition to that? That would be for the office and for the mayor, whoever else would need to have access to data through the internet connections. Is there anyone opposing that? Good. The other thing with the COVID money is we are possibly looking at another $20,000, which would significantly increase that number. So that being said, we've gone to the department heads with that meeting last week and asked them to put together a list. That list has not been submitted yet. I've given each department head until end of this week to have that list in my hands so I can distribute it to the rest of finance. And what I'd like to do is have a committee meeting somewhere around September 10th, or potentially a department head meeting, which we will determine which is more feasible. So this way we could go through the needs where we can utilize these excess funds. Reason for the short timeline is we do have a short timeline in which to spend these dollars. We have until October the 15th to spend them. So that would mean that we would have to approve the expenses by the second meeting in September so that we can get things moving. So I believe all the department heads are working on those. Is there anything that's come on the list so far that anyone sees as significant, that maybe even Thomas or Amy you'd want to bring up, or Chief Stitt, or no?
I will.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Tom.
Amy. Go ahead. You thought of it, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, no, Tom and I were working on, we actually had someone come in today and give us, we talked with him about, we'd like to reopen the foyer. We want to reopen the building for the public, especially with the cold weather coming in. You know, they shouldn't have to stand outside, but we also want to keep our staff safe. So he came in and Tom and I sat down with him and explained to him what we would like to do. We'd like to close off that area that Peggy sits at instead of having the slots where people reach through and there's that possibility of exposure. We would have it, you know, it would basically be there, that he's looking at rebuilding the wall and making it safe, COVID safe, riot safe. I mean, all possibilities. So Chris Mills is going to get Thomas a quote back by Thursday, Friday at the absolute latest. Am I right on that, Tom?
Yeah, we'll get it this week.
And we'll get that to you as soon as we get it.
And I think things like that, that's a number one, that helps us with regard to the pandemic, and that makes those funds usable. Two, that's something that needs to be done. So those are the type of ideas that we're looking for. Amy, great job on that.
Thanks.
I myself think that's a fantastic idea. Any other members
We have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock with the other officers.
Perfect.
We'll have a list. So.
Perfect. And for example, I know the fire department submitted a couple pieces of equipment. Police, we've discussed the possibility even in that meeting. Is Lieutenant Rongi on this evening?
No.
And before we go any further, to set the record straight, Chief Woodley is on vacation, and I believe Mayor Puckett isn't with us this evening. His son sustained an injury at football practice this evening, so
Jeez.
our prayers for little Kyle, and hopefully he's okay. I think he's going to be all right, but I think he's definitely excused. So, but again, department heads, I asked each of them during that meeting, to all the other members of council and finance, to submit whatever they think would be usable for these COVID funds. And then when and around we have that meeting for September 10th, we can narrow down, once there's more research done, where we can spend those funds and still remain in compliance to survive an audit, to where we're not doing anything that would be questionable or that we would have to repay back any of that money. The one thing I do not want to see us do is have a chance to spend all these funds and have to give them back because we can't think of ways to spend it. So is anyone in disagreement with doing potentially a second finance committee meeting before the second meeting in September?
I'm okay.
Okay. And if we do end up doing that second committee meeting, I'll invite all of council. But I will keep you guys informed on that note.
Do you have a repeater on that list? Not that we need to go into great detail.
That was discussed also, the potential of a repeater because of the Marks radios. Ryan was going to do some research into that to see if that was feasible. These are all things, and what's nice about things like that is those are all things that we are going to have as expenses to the village, and to be able to kind of absorb that cost elsewhere and not have it affect our bottom line, especially right now and the time we're going through, is significant and will be extremely beneficial for us in the end. So yeah, that was on the list. Laura, do you have anything else with regard to the COVID monies?
I just want us to keep in mind that the COVID money is definitely for expenditures that were going to occur because of COVID. So it's more of, they're kind of reimbursing us for expenses that we're gonna incur because of COVID. So whether it be expenses that we needed to, again, allow the public back into the building, whether it be for mayor's court or into the lobby, or I believe the fire department or ambulance department had come up with a laryngoscope. Am I saying that right, Todd? I'm not sure. But things like that could help them to stay safe with COVID patients. So
Okay.
That's all.
Anyone else with that for finance for the COVID funds?
Just one thing, yeah, we talk about this and the seriousness of the COVID-19, and it's not going away anytime soon. And see that ambulance, they went ahead, they've got to equip, ready for any COVID patients in that one ambulance. The privilege of having two ambulances here is just such a blessing. And for Todd to foresee, getting funds and getting that one ambulance all set up in case we have, a call for that and everything, to protect our people and give them all the protection that they possibly can in that one ambulance is a credit to his department and himself. And we thank you for thinking forward and having that ambulance ready to go for any action that may happen in our village or on a mutual aid run that we're protected. So thank you for that. COVID is unforgiving.
Anything additional on the COVID funds? All right. Other thing I had for finance is something we've talked about a little bit. During our department head meeting last week, Lori presented with us kind of where we're going to stand based on what we know right now for 2021. I've asked each department head to look at their own expenditures and find ways to cut for next year. We're looking about a $250,000 hit in our budget.
250,000?
$250,000, $250,000. in our
Estimate.
budget for 2021, based on what we know right now. So that being said, each of the department heads has been asked to look at expenses and where things can be cut. My opinion on this is our people, our wages and benefits are untouchable. Are we in agreement?
Yep, I am.
I am.
So I want to put on the record during committees this evening to all of our employees with the village. We appreciate everything each and every one of you do every single day. And it'll be a cold day and you know where before I let us touch our employees' wages and benefits. Now, we can't control the healthcare cost. That's the number that we know goes up every single year. We know it's going to go up this year. We hope it doesn't, but let's be honest with ourselves. Healthcare doesn't get any cheaper. That's a fixed cost. So what I'm asking is, and what I've already asked each department head to do, is to look at the 2021 budget, look at your expenses and where we can cut back. The reality of things is, we talked about it at the last meeting, but to get into service, the chance of having a paving project, we're not going to have the funds. I mean, we've got tough decisions to make. I mean, I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are, but at the end of the day, I see our job is to maintain a village that's safe and clean and fiscally responsible. And for us to do that, we've got to cut back what can be cut and keep what is absolutely necessary. Any additional thoughts, comments?
Well, you hit it, Ray. I mean, safety and employees, you're down to bare bone here. That's what we had, and keep them working and keep them going, as a priority also. And keeping with, we always try to maintain them and possibly improve our services to the village, this coming year. And people need to realize it's not your fault. I mean, people lost jobs through this thing since last March. Their incomes are gone. Our income from RETA drops and all this stuff and everything. It is what it is. You cannot control that. But,
No.
We're going to be left with what's left, and we're going to do everything we can, thinking out of the box and trying to recover from this. But it's a large chunk of money, and we'll continue to research where we can do things. But it's a big figure.
And the rest is sure. I mean, I say when we attack this for next year, we need to really methodically look through the budget, and we want to still make sure we're patching potholes, we're doing the water line fixes. I mean, for example, when you're, like, to your point, Rich, when your primary source of revenue for the village is through income tax, and you're in the middle of a pandemic, and you have the closure of one of the largest employers in the entire Tri-County just prior to that pandemic, there's tough decisions that have to be made. The good news for us, I think, is that we have, as a group, have been extremely fiscally responsible to where we're not going to be in a situation where, sorry if you can't see me, I'm getting a phone call, of course. Am I back?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
We're not going to be in the situation that some of the bigger municipalities in our area are going to be in that work with RETA. So we're going to be okay. That's the one thing that I want to rest assured. We're going to be fine. We're going to have a balanced budget for 2021. We're going to look to cut back wherever possible of the things that we can cut. If we can't come up with a budget and we have to spend down, it is what it is. We'll live with it. We'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, all we need is each department head to figure out where things can be cut back. And then when we meet again in September, we can come up with a somewhat of a temporary budget to submit so that come October 1, we're in good shape for 2021. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
You're right, Ray. You hit it right on the nail. We've been really prudent with our spending, and we saw the Niles thing where we're going to be on the hook for $3 million. We're making that payment. We know what that's going to cost. we took on south of Marshall Road, no interest loans. We were able to do that. We have that in our budgets, We don't have any crazy outstanding, stuff that's really, we're bare bone. We're very prudent with the spending of the money. And when you look at what we owe compared to a lot of other communities and what's coming in and going out, I think we've done an outstanding job along those lines and maintained and when possibly improved our services to our residents in the village. So hang with us. As you see, we'll let you know when we know. And it's always in that, the unknown factor that we all have to wait on and see. But trust me, everybody's working behind the scenes to make this all work out for everybody. Thank you.
Well, and again, to that point, Rich, we have to hope for an end of this pandemic, for fruitful employment for all of our residents, because when residents are working, again, income tax collections are coming in. And I can't stress it enough, when your primary source of revenue comes from income tax, you're at the mercy of the job market, and that's where we're at. So we've kind of prepped for this for a few months. It's kind of coming to a headway, but we're going to get it figured out. And we'll have those that second department head meeting and possibly a second finance meeting prior to that second September council meeting. So is everyone in agreement there?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, does anybody have anything additional for finance? All right, seeing nothing additional for finance, it is 6:22 and finance is closed. Moving on, we will go 6:22. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
All righty, Mr. Fisher with safety, 6:22.
6:23. Todd, you got
Okay.
anything?
No, sir. Thanks.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? I don't have anything to report tonight. So I'll take this opportunity to mention that in talking with Amy, under a planning commission report, I misspoke. And in the minutes, it was reflected that the zoning was supposed to go from CA. I inadvertently had that backwards. So that was corrected. So just pointing that out. And the second thing is we've decided that October the 7th at 5:45 would be the time to hold a public hearing for that zoning change, be prior to our meeting, and we can go directly into our meeting.
Okay,
Is everybody on board with that?
that would be the first Wednesday in October, I'm guessing?
First Wednesday, yes. There's time constraints that has to be within 50 days of when the planning commission rep reports it. And then it has to be, so many days that, but that fits our time constraints.
Sounds good.
Seeing nothing else, we'll close at 6:24.
Short and sweet this evening, Mr. Fisher.
Try to be efficient.
All right. We'll go 6:24. Mr. Schmidt, since you're smiling away. Service.
Thank you. I just have one thing this evening with regards to what Mr. Lewis was already talking about, the paving projects. It's unfortunate that we're in the situation that we're in, but our whole thought process as a council and a village is to be smart with our finances and do what we can to keep the village as it is, to keep everyone safe, and to move forward. So I spoke to Mr. Dimitrovich yesterday and today a little bit about the project, and we're not saying that the project is not going to be completed or attempted to be completed, but I had mentioned to him to file for an extension. That way, if the end of this year is looking as it is and stays that way, and this project cannot be completed this year, then we want to try to get this done as early as we can next year. Hopefully that things are looking better. I did have a few questions for him, which I do thank you for getting back to me, Thomas, with that. It looks like, in in April, around April, like that would be the earliest that we could potentially get this moving. So it does give us some time to see how things are going to play out. But again, even if we get to that point and we're not okay financially, then it's just going to continue to be on hold and patch things. You know, we've done that in the past where we've just gone through and you know, patch as we need to. It's not like any of our roads have giant holes in them to where they're safe to travel on. So, you know, our guys do a great job of patching things up, and that's what we'll have to do for right now. But at least it gives us the option moving forward to potentially continue this project or get this project completed later this year or early next year, depending upon how finances go. I just wanted to mention one last thing. This might be in part with Parks and Buildings too. You know, it's kind of borderline there. I was contacted by the youth baseball program about potentially doing some type of camp this year. Just our kids something so they don't miss everything. So in talks with them, we're hoping that they can just submit some type of plan to us that we know that the kids are going to be safe, that the parents, when they come down, everything's going to be safe. They'll be spread apart, those types of things, just to get them some skills, drills, whatever, something for these kids for baseball down there. You know, we can get the fields ready for them if this does come to fruition there, but it is in the talks. So I'll be looking forward to hear more from them. As long as council's approval with the plan that they would submit to us, and then we could potentially move forward with that. I know baseball, my son's in baseball. I know it's being played all over the state, and I've seen what they've done to protect the kids and the umpires, coaches, etc. The plan does work. So if there's something that we can get in place for them, then I think that that's something that we should do. Thomas, do you have anything else?
Sorry.
I thank you, Sean. I am constantly in communication with PFM, our representative, Bethany Pugh, regarding the water and sewer rate structures to come based off of asset management and increases from Niles. So I didn't have anything to bring to you guys tonight. She has been working on it for several weeks, and I do believe I'll be bringing you information later this month for sure. Maybe I can segue into one of the finance meetings that get added this month, but with some basic information about what's to come. Again, based off of asset management mostly, and a program implemented by the Ohio EPA. Just want to get it out there and talk about it. So when we actually look at a new rate structure, council's ready to make some decisions on it.
Okay. Thank you. Ray,
You're welcome. Thank you for everything. And I'd like to thank council for all their consideration to doing the project. You know, it's unfortunate because I've never seen a project bid so low and be acceptable according to the standards based off of the price for oil. But being prudent and hanging on to our tax dollars will enable our offices to maintain services for the residents. Although that's a big service that we like to continue every year, and we have good streets, thank you. And, you know, we will, if that's okay, we will get out and start some patching. I've been kind of waiting to see what we were going to do based off of whether we're going to do the project or not, but I can get my crews out and start doing some pothole patching. And in some areas we'll refinish a little part more than a pothole, you know, we'll fix up, but nothing to the extent of what we would have had to spend in the project, you know, like we would have had to spend $95,000 or more in that project. But now if we can get away with some patchwork, we're between $5,000 and $6,000.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that. I was just about to mention that the cost
Okay.
in that, but I do thank you for that. So go ahead, Ray.
No, I was just going to piggyback on what Thomas had said with regard to the EPA with their plans. I mean, these are, if I'm correct, Thomas, this was what we had discussed months back.
That's correct.
with regard to upgrades of water and sewer lines and requirements being brought down by the Ohio EPA, right?
Yeah, and in particular, asset management is specific to our water lines, gate valves, hydrants, everything. So, and it's not specific to McDonald, it's across the entire state of Ohio. So all the communities, municipalities in Ohio and private ownerships of water departments have to make these improvements to the infrastructure, some more than others, you know.
And this is something, just so the public's aware, this is not something we can choose not to do.
That is correct. In fact, once it gets passed, it'll have to be in an ordinance form and we'll have to follow through with what we approve. So I'm being very careful that we don't bite off more than we can chew. And again, the cost to the residents is minimal compared to they wanted it done in 5 years. I'm going to kick and scream about that because that's a huge cost to the residents on an increase. So if I could stretch it out for 10 years, we're not faced with catastrophic failure on our infrastructure. But again, this is a demand from the EPA. We fix things as we can and maintain them as necessary. But again, this is outside of our control. We have to do it.
If there's nothing else, that's all I have for tonight.
I just, I appreciate you guys talking about, the grant, they're hard for. You fight hard to get these grants. There's a lot of competition. And what these guys are talking about is, when you get the grants, we have a share that we have to pay for these projects. And a lot of times you need to increase what you're offering to pay to get some of these grants. And this is the money we're talking about saving for right now. Right now doing this project at this time is knowing we have that money, we're not going to be using that for this project at this time. But that's the hunk of change that we're talking about saving at this moment. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to clarify that a little bit for people. That's
And that grant, if I'm right, that grant money is available for 2 years, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
Let's hope that somebody kicks COVID's butt and we get back to normal.
Yeah.
Yep.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone. That's 6:33.
All righty. Service is closed. Save the best for last.
Me?
33, Mr. Harvey, our elder
Next.
statesman.
Thank you. 6:33 for the parks. Just getting that information, last year we did have that, the fall league down there, Little League played. Last year was a tremendous year. 2019, everything was in effect. We had basketball going on from 8 to 6, 7 days a week. Everything was in place last year. All the things that we wanted to do, all the things that were on the program, we were able to do. And 2020 hit in February and March. Things came to a halt. The guidelines, we spent more time trying to review guidelines to see what we can, what we couldn't do. As far as the parks go, Tom and everybody spent a lot of time listening to the governor as things became vague. We spent a lot of time with the Trumbull County Health Department, giving them everything we wanted. We threw it against the wall to them that we wanted to do. And they would tell us, here's how you have to do it. And you're not able to do it. So we went through the items to make sure. But I commend everybody. We went outside of the box when we said, how can we open our parks safely? And we talked about it. I said, look, if we went down and did every other swing, we have our distancing. If we had every other teeter-totter, every other, kid swing, we would create our distances to meet these regulations by just doing that and trying to think how we can manage and have our park attendants be safe and our residents be safe. And when they came down there, they would know they'd be safe. And it's a different year. COVID-19, people just kind of looking, well, it's kind of like an over thing, but it's not. And we have to continue to be vigilant to protect all our residents. We have an aging population. I'm part of that. Our young people, we need to work towards making sure what we do protects them. Some people are saying that they're disappointed in our village because things aren't open. Well, it's a disappointing year for everybody. And we've worked diligently to open everything up that we could in a timely manner. And when county went red, they didn't come here to ask us anything about what we had because they knew everything we had was approved. But you saw them go to different communities across, and they shut everything down. They shut a lot of communities down that opened up everything and didn't have any safeguards in place. We took it seriously. We will take it seriously. I'm not disappointed in the village. You know, sometimes we get disappointed in our residents, our parents, and our young kids. Nothing we can do. You know, we can try to, step in and do that, but it's a difficult year for everybody. Like I said, our kids want to be hanging in the parks. We wanted there like last year, but they have to practice distancing and wear a mask. And but as the mayor opened up, you are allowed to walk in the park. Please, exercise, go through the park. People are continuing to go through there. Equipment had to be taken out for a reason, way too soon, but there was not going to be, as the mayor said, just by no sanitation. And I for one didn't want any parent coming down on the weekend or after school at night and to walk down there and go to the little kid swings and have some bigger kids sitting in there with the rears and the swings, and she'd have to go up and ask them, please go to the swings so I can put my kid in there. Or they go down and there's 8 kids on the big kids swing standing there and no swings available, and they're not going to give them to them. And you want to practice safe distancing, but kids have, there's freedom of speech. People like to say things, and we like to have safe distancing. You want them under 10 people or more in groups, but we don't want anybody to go down there and have somebody sneeze on somebody or somebody cough on somebody, or these kids are sharing things with other people. Parents, check out with your kids what they're doing down there. If they're going down there, if they're buying stuff and sharing it with other kids, they're not your family, say something about it. Be a good parent. Help us out. I heard somebody say, it's really, the foul language down there is really, it's not the park's fault. It's the parents' fault. The war memorial, to me, I know, Aaron, I know it's sacred ground down there. And when I go down there and there's flowers taken out of the vase and throw it on the ground, I cross over that chain link fence, I go to pick them up. When I go to put them back, there's a water bottle, a empty water bottle. I have to take that out and put flowers in. And people say, let the kids stay down there. It's safe there. Let them talk and giggle. And so a lot of people, a lot of veterans in our town, our community, it's sacred ground down by the war memorial. It's called a war memorial for a reason. And if you want to continue to sit down there and talk, if you're under, a lot of that they're allowed to do. Just understand that. But our parents can control a lot of this, but saying, hey, move it out, move it down. And if you're sharing your food with somebody not from your family down there, you need to understand that if somebody's coughing on your kid and it comes up and gets to grandma, somebody said, well, just put on there, play at your own risk. God, I can't even think it. I couldn't imagine that, going down and telling somebody, play at your own risk. So just go down there, and if you don't have a hand sanitizer, oh, okay, he gets his butt out of it. I'll just put my kid in there, and something happens. We'd all feel bad, and we don't want to feel bad. So we took out the equipment for a reason to protect us for next year. We're hoping next year we can have things. When people tell us, when people are literally trying to pull out the merry-go-round out of the ground and trying to do other things to this equipment, we spend a lot of money on the swings. We put more swings in. We want to protect these things. But more importantly, we want to protect our citizens, or elderly, anybody that was going to go down there, because there was nobody there. There was going to be no sanitation, no sanitizing of anything. And to say that, well, if they wanted to, if they don't want to, that's up to them. It's up to us not to let that happen, I think. We need to take it on ourselves and protect our major population it's going to be a terrible year. We know that. It's a different year. Be thankful for 2019. People talk to me and talk to all these other different people and get answers that, to the questions that are real. They don't do it off of social media. They go talk to me or talk to anybody here, and they sleep well at night because they know what's going on. The people who are dying on social media, they're living by that, and all the stuff that goes on there. You take what you can and do what you can as far as with the information you're going to get. We went on there. We're going to protect our residents. We got everything protected. We closed. The one thing closed. The park program's closed on August 14th. The park didn't close. The park program's closed. But that weekend and the following days, the swings and stuff were still up there, and but just what happened down there just wasn't what we expect of our citizens and our young people or whoever, of our residents. And the mayor, I give him credit. You know, he took action. It's in his authority. Tommy, everybody talked about that. When Tommy had to go down there when there's 40 people hanging out on the swings and to disperse these kids, and they've been told, you know, you disperse, you get out. You know, the kids weren't allowed to linger in the park through the summer program. They had to keep moving. There was no tables for them. It was a challenge. I feel bad for these kids in a lot of senses because they weren't allowed to sit and play like they normally did. They had to keep moving. So the park attendants did a great job of just trying to keep this in order. It's a tough year. We still have more things that may be canceled and get through, but we're going to get through this together. Like I said, people have those questions. We're all available to that to come on, and people have asked me, and after they get to our answers to what's going on, that makes sense, Rich. I was on here. I didn't make sense what they were talking about, but communicate. We just try to communicate with each other. But our goal is to protect everybody. We try to do the best I can, and we need to do that to keep our park safe. More important, keep our residents, all of them, our senior citizens, and young people, and our kids safe when they come and visit our park. We want them to always feel safe. So a lot of misinformation out there, you know, what's going on, why the park was closed, and but the War Memorial, I just parents, if you know, to me it's sacred ground. You know, to Darren, a lot of people that is, and we like to have people go down there and be able to walk around when you can't get through because of all the bikes, or you can't get through because you're all over the place. But they have rights if they're under 10, you know, people, or they can swear on there if they want to. We try to, people just need to understand that for many people, especially our older citizens, all of us, you know, it's sacred ground over there, and to leave the trash, to move that stuff, and it's disappointing to me and to a lot of people, and I feel bad about that. I will take all the heat from anybody for what he's done. If they didn't like the way we acted on something, voiced my opinion, and so did Tommy and the mayor. After the one meeting we're down there, and just needed to make a decision, and I feel they made the right decision is taking out the equipment for now and saving it for next year. And people, it's going to be more down the road. We haven't got through this yet. You know, we're looking at Halloween, we're looking at all different things that's still down the road for the village that we're still looking at. They're on hold. We're going to get more information, and we do our diligence, and we'll talk to Trumbull County and see what they have to say. The other thing I like to clear up is there's been people coming to me asking me that the village canceled the Billy Goat there race for the school, and I want to go on record here saying that that's really not true. The village had nothing to do with canceling the Billy Goat race down in the park. Our contract calls for them to run that Billy Goat. Everything is open. They have our blessings for all that. The contract is still in effect. Everything is there. If they wanted to run that Billy Goat, but the key word was they had to get it approved by a lot of people, and they needed to come forward with a plan from the Trumbull County Health Department, their own leagues, organizations that would say how they could effectively bring on 1,000 kids or whatever they wanted to do into the village to have the Billy Goat. Let me make that clear. The plan was never presented to anybody on this council or in this village at all to move forward with that Billy Goat. And we didn't get any of that information. The league information for having the league meets there, we didn't cancel. Unfortunately, I don't know, Tom, Mayor, I don't remember, did anybody ever get an official, you know, school has asked us permission to use these things. I don't know if anybody ever, did anybody get a letter, or did anybody ever get an email from anybody that said that they were going to discontinue the Billy Goat or the meets there for the year? Did anybody ever get an email or an official letter, Amy? Anybody see an official letter come through from them? I mean, you would think if they're going to cancel something, rather than maybe somebody picking it up on the newspaper, it's a major event and this stuff. You would want to communicate with us to say, I'm not going to do this or this, and here's our official withdrawal, so you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. Rather than pick it up on a newspaper, you know, you have the official document. You've asked to have this events. Take the courtesy to notify us, email or a letter to everybody, letting us know that, hey, we moved on to other things and, but you.
Rather than to make,
Yes.
rather than to make a spectacle and cause more further confusion, I think that the coaches in the area got together and decided upon a plan to hold that at a location that could more safely distance people that had nothing to do with anything here. But it didn't have the, there's no rift there. It just was what it was for social distancing purposes. The Trumbull County Fairgrounds were a better option.
And I agree with that. And I understand that. But it was canceled and nobody, when you cancel, when you're not having an event, I think a courtesy to let us know. I think that's, anybody else have anything for parks?
Yeah, Rich, I do. I just want to state, I do appreciate your passion for the parks, and that's pretty much why you're the head of Parks and Buildings, just because of how much you care about everything down there. It's really sad that the way that things have gone in the village, and need to get into the social media part of things, but the majority of our village, I would have to say, appreciates what we've done to keep people safe in the village. What Thomas, the mayor, has done, and don't let that skew you on what the overall perception of the village is of the work that we've done to keep people safe and to try and make things happen. And we're still gonna push through to see and try and get as many things as we can for our kids, and that to do. So, moving forward in a positive direction, this is a time where everybody needs to come together. It's terrible. It's a terrible, rough year. And instead of dividing each other and that, we all need to come together and see what we can do as a village to make this right and to do as much as we can together safely as we get through this. So again, thanks for your passion, Rich, and I appreciate that.
We can close it. Anybody else have anything? All right, anybody?
Even that forest fire.
What was that?
Nothing.
Good, Brian. What'd you say, Brian?
I said even you can present forest fire.
There you go. Thank you. 6:48. Thomas, do you have anything? Let me ask Thomas. Excuse me, Thomas, do you have anything?
No, I'm fine. Thanks, Mr.
You fine? And you're good?
Yeah. I hope there's more programming coming. Talking to the mayor, I believe that, but it's premature right now. But I know that we're going to be putting something out there after approval, and working with the health departments and some of the other municipalities to provide things for our residents. Again, services, a give back, but premature to talk about it now. But yeah, always looking forward to doing more for our residents.
Absolutely.
You brought it. I'll go on the record. We were one of a very small handful, if not the only park system in Trumbull County to have programming that was approved and safe for its residents this past year. And again, it's not easy to be a provider and have a beautiful park system and not offer that up to the community. When you have to switch gears and go into a restriction mode, I just expect a lot of that reciprocated, because we all have to do that. And again, not that we want to, but it's necessary.
I agree 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? 6:50 we close? Thank you.
6:50. Parks and Buildings are closed. Committees are closed this evening. Does anyone have any additional comments off the record?
Ray,
Yes.
you know what? I just wanted to let you guys know that on my last fiscal report, the pension employer share, none of the monetary figures changed, but I did have it on the paperwork that it was for August. That was actually for July. So for PRS and Ohio Police and Fire pension, I just want to let you know that I had typed it in incorrectly as August and it was supposed to have been July.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
All I have additionally is go McDonald's, crash the Rockets on Friday.
And Saturday.
And Saturday. All righty, folks. Have a good night.
Good
Right.
See you tomorrow. Thank you. See you tomorrow.